Elves are without a doubt among the most recognized and well-known mythical creatures in our modern popular culture. They are, after all, a staple of the fantasy genre, and were prominent in modern works of fiction and literature. With the help of various authors, such as the great Tolkien, elves rise in popularity, and today, it is pretty common to see the use of elves in literature, video games, art, and fantasy movies. However, not everyone knows the exact origins of these enigmatic creatures, which is why today we will take a look at the roots of elves in history, their place in mythology, and some of the different types of elves that appeared over time. The origins of elves are deeply rooted in Norse and Germanic mythology. In fact, in Norse mythology, elves were known under the name Alfar, a class of mythical beings renowned for their incredible power and great beauty. These elves were divided in two groups. On one side, the Leosalfar, the light elves, who dwell in the heavens and whose beauty was unmatched. They were radiant beings brighter than the sun, and according to the 13th century Old Norse Eddas, they lived in a realm of light called Alfheim, that was located between the heavens and the earth. The light elves were also known for their kind and benevolent nature toward human beings. There were even stories of elves and humans that got together and produced offspring. These half-human, half-elf children looked like humans physically, but were far more beautiful and had great powers due to their elven blood. The other race of elves in Norse mythology were the Dökkelfar, the dark elves. Unlike their radiant counterpart, these beings were usually represented with dark skin and pitch black hair. They lived under the earth in a realm called Svartalheim, which can be translated into homeland of the Black Elves. Black Elves were mostly recognized for their immense powers and their ability to create magical objects and weapons. Eventually, with the introduction and rise of the Christian faith, beliefs in elves and other supernatural beings naturally decreased, but it did not disappear. The place they once occupied simply dwindled, and they were portrayed in a more negative light. The worship of elves in mythology and folklore lasted for centuries as it spread throughout Europe and slowly got incorporated in the traditions of several cultures. For example, in the lore and folktales of Britain and Scotland, elves are often the main subjects of ballads and stories, such as the one in The Queen of Elf fame or Thomas the Rhymer. They were commonly portrayed as human-sized supernatural wicked creatures with elegant features and pointy ears. Normally, the elves from British folklore are mischievous beings that often harm or trick humans for their own pleasure. They would steal livestock, torment people sleeping, and some legends also describe how elves would often steal children away from their parents at night. The Icelandic folklore also has its fair share of myths and legends revolving around elves. In there, they're called the Holdafolk, the hidden people. These beings were very similar to humans in shape and personality, but they lived in a totally different magical realm invisible to the human eye. Nowadays, the term elf can be used to describe a variety of different creatures and beings. Christmas elves, for example, are usually depicted as small humanoids with pointy ears and pointy hats, living and working with Santa Claus. They appear in a very wide range of Christmas movies and cartoons, thus cementing their unique role as Christmas elves. And of course, we can't discuss elves without mentioning the work of J.R.R. Tolkien. He almost single-handedly popularized elves and how they are depicted in our pop culture. The elves in the Lord of the Rings are great, powerful, godlike beings of astonishing beauty. These elves were about the same size as standard humans, but more elegant and wiser than them. They were virtually immortal, being immune to diseases and never aging past a certain point. They only grew in strength and wisdom as the years passed by. Several characters from The Lord of the Rings, such as Legolas, Elrond, or Galadriel, are now recognized almost everywhere on Earth and basically represent the modern depiction of elves and fantasy as we know it. This surge of popularity following Tolkien's work eventually led to the introduction of elves in the medias, literature, art, and even games. For example, in the classic role-playing game Dungeons & Dragons, elves are among the most popular races available for players to use in their games. Most fantasy-driven video games such as Warcraft or The Elder Scrolls also have a decent range of elven characters and races to choose from. In fantasy films, elves are among the most popular races used as supporting characters and sometimes as main characters. The movie adaptations of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings remains among the best fantasy movies showcasing elves as supporting characters, and the same thing can be said for the adaptation of the Harry Potter series. In the end, although elves as we know them today are a unique and special literary and fictional creation, the legends and myths surrounding them are rooted in real aspects of Norse mythology and traditional folklore from Northern Europe and Britain. They inspired countless authors, artists, and creators, which gave birth to some of the best masterpieces we have today. Elves, just like dragons and mermaids, belong to these legendary creatures that will remain popular no matter what, and for a very long time. So that's it for today's video. Thanks everyone for watching, I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any comments or suggestions, do not hesitate to let me know in the comment section below. And as usual, if you enjoyed the content, please share the video and subscribe to the channel for even more myths and legends. Now then, thanks again to all of you, and I'll see you all very soon for a new video.